Welcome back to HackTheFile, Michael Lopez. Now, today's episode, we're going to be looking at the Security Plus CompTIA Security Guide. Enjoy. All right, so we're back. It's been a minute since I did a video. Like I said, I've been really busy. I'm trying to start my cyber school and my cyber defense school, and with what's going on in the world right now and the universities and economy and everything, and the changing I would say generation, people are wanting to get, they're not wanting to, I think that today's students aren't wanting to do a 4-year degree. And what's happening is that university enrollments are dropping, and even if it's a 2-year degree, which is kind of weird, because you would think like, all right, we don't want to do a 4-year, but we'll settle for a 2-year degree, associates. But it seems like and I'm not talking about all degrees across the board. I don't have that data, right? But from what I've noticed, it's technical degrees, it's hands-on degrees. People want to work with their hands, and or cybersecurity or something technical, right? That requires you to have some kind of hands-on, or tech knowledge or something like that, right? So I've noticed that the 2-year degrees and 4-year degrees enrollments are lowering in these fields, but workforce training or certificates and stuff like that are on the rise. So what I'm gonna do is, so I'm trying to find a full-time job, right? So trying to find a full-time job. I teach full-time right now, but my contract is gonna be up in the fall. So I'm trying to get together my curriculum, right? And what I want to provide in my school, because I'm just gonna open up my own school, but I'm going to gear it towards workforce training, right? So it's either geared for people that are already in the field and they want to progress, right? Or people that don't really know what to do out of high school, but they're interested in cyber, but they don't want to commit a whole 2 years to it or 4 years to it, right? And they just want to maybe get some training in it, get their CompTIA Security Plus, and maybe their Network Plus, and then maybe their CSYA, which is like SOC monitoring and SIEM tools and stuff like that. And if you don't know what those are, you got to Google them. For cybersecurity, right? So basically an entry-level position. That's what I'm going to focus on. So, today we're gonna look at one of the books that I'm gonna recommend in my school for the first 3 months, where I'm trying to get you, where I'm teaching you about cybersecurity. We're learning together, and you're gonna be actually building the ShadowNet virtual environment that I have put together and assembled. And I'm going to do it in conjunction with one of these books, and it's going to be this cybersecurity guide. And by the way, if you go to my Patreon, I have a link to the Patreon. I haven't got 10 people to sign up yet. It's kind of surprising, but it's fine. if we could hold off on it right now, I'm not going to release the curriculum until I get at least 10 people. That way I can see that we're dedicated, and then I can dedicate some time into teaching people, right? And it's the free basically prepping you for your Security Plus if you're thinking about doing it. Okay, but anyway, so this, we're going to read from this book today. We're going to read through it, and something like this, you can take this by yourself, right? You can buy this book and study it and then pass, right? $30. But you're not going to get any hands-on with this, right? So if you're a new person to the field, you've got your diploma, your high school diploma or your GED, and you're like, all right, what do I do now? Do I go and become a CNA, go to CNA school or something? Even if you do that, right, you still have to take some physical classes where you're touching things. See, that's what's kind of odd to me, right? You'll have that idea of something like that, right? CNAs, right? Certified Nursing Assistants, that people are like, I need a job, I need a career, some kind of something where I make a little bit more than minimum wage. What do? Well, why not become a CNA? They're always hiring for CNAs, right? Because there's retirement homes, there's hospitals or whatever. So somebody's like, all right, but they still have to take a 3-month course to get that certificate. That's basically what this is, right? So you still have to go take a course, but the thing is, when they take that course, it's not just theory. They have to go in and to a class, a night class, right? And physically do things on dolls. I don't know what it is, but it's physical with theory, and then they pass their theory and all that stuff anyways. So the concept of cybersecurity. Okay, so I've been looking at this. There's boot camps. Yes, there's cybersecurity boot camps. They're charging you thousands and thousands of dollars, $10,000 probably, for what? What are they really teaching you? I don't understand that. Especially if you're new to the industry and you're new to cyber. Of course, you're not going to know what the hell they're talking about. You're not going to know if they're ripping you off or anything. Come on. So it's kind of like, what are they teaching? And are they teaching... are they having these people set up networks? Are they having them, look at hardware and specs, and then building a small network of different hardware? Maybe like a PLC or a switch, unmanaged and managed. Both. Are they setting up admin PCs? Are they setting user rights? Are they configuring that managed switch, where they can set it up to different VLNs, troubleshooting through that, having problems, fixing the problems, looking things. Are they doing any of that? You would think that, in cybersecurity, I'm telling you right now, I don't care what anybody says, networking is your basics. You need to know how to network. You need to know how all this hardware works. You need to know how it's connected. You need to know how to communicate between the networks. You need to put your hands on a switch. You need to configure a switch. You need to look at the router, a bare bones router. Maybe install some RAMs, install some SSD. Maybe a Wi-Fi card. If not, take that router. You need to have a bare bones one, install all that stuff. If not, then you need to be able to at least to download the OS system on that, right? And there's free stuff like pfSense and all that. So this is the stuff that they leave out in a lot of these schools, and they just say, here, do this, do that, but they leave out the troubleshooting part, right? That's the hard part. That's the stuff that you get some hands on. That people would say, okay, he could do this. If they can figure that out, they can figure out anything, man. And then they figure out a lot of things. Now, this is not high level. This is low level. This is entry level, right? So that's what I want to teach in my school. I'm going to help you pass your Security Plus, right? But I'm going to teach you on how all the networking works first. And how the hardware works. What is the hardware? Maybe a little bit about electricity. You got to know how electricity works. A little bit. You got to know, you might not have to know Ohm's law and all that. That's ridiculous. You don't need to know Ohm's law, but you need to understand maybe the history of electricity and how that works with on and off and ones and zeros. You need to know some binary, some bits and bytes. So, all this stuff, you need to know some of that stuff. And then when you're learning, then you understand how everything works, right? Because that's the bone bristle of it, is the electricity and how it works, computers and all that stuff. So anyways, but this is the idea, right? To have hands-on networking hardware stuff in a short period of time, but at least you have some, right? So you have 3 months. So my goal is to have a 9-month program, right? And you're gonna get 3 certs through the whole thing. So Security Plus, Network Plus, CYSA. By the time you graduate in 9 months, or you pass in 9 months, you'll be able to get an entry level, maybe SOC position, entry level IT support or something like that, because I'm gonna have you have so much hands-on. You're gonna be able to put it on your resume and then answer questions, like practical questions, not just theoretical. So this test is just theoretical, but it has some drag and drop stuff in it, which is fine, right? So let's just go ahead and this is 8th edition. There might be a 9th. But let's, like we always do when we're starting a new book, let's look at the author. There's a technical editor. She looks like a technical editor too. All right, here's the authors. Mike Chapple, PhD, CISSP, Security Plus. See, this guy got a PhD. And then he wrote this book. So he's going to be all right. He's an author of the best-selling CISP, ISC squared, Certified Information Security, blah, blah, blah. He is an information security professional with 2 decades of experience in higher education. Great. Okay, let's look at this guy. David Seidl. Seidl is Vice President for Information Technology at CIO at Miami University. All right. Nothing special. And here's our technical editor, Nadine H. Tanner, Security Plus, SASP A+, Network Plus, CISP. She's got her certs. Many other industry certifications. She's got about 1,000 certs. Now, my God, I've always been like somebody that says, I mean, you can get 1,000 certs, don't mean you know shit. But yeah, like the times are changing. Nobody wants to, like I said, dedicate that 4 years or the 2-3 years. And I've been going to school for the last 6-7 years. Okay, I'm getting my master's, I've got a bachelor's, and I've got an associate's in different fields and stuff. Held multiple titles and all that. I don't have one damn cert. I take that back. I got my electronics technician cert. And then that's about it. Okay, so I'm gonna get, the certs that I'm teaching, obviously I'm gonna get those, right? Because I need to know how to what it takes to pass them, then I can teach it to help people pass them, right? So the Security Plus, Network Plus, CISA, CYSA, but I'm doing it because I'm gonna teach it, right? And so I'm gonna go grab those certs, create curriculum behind them, and then create the hands-on lab, lab behind it. But Yeah, I've never been a fan of certs because it's like, why am I gonna go get a cert when I have a degree? I I busted my ass getting this 4-year degree, multiple tests, exams, all this crap, research, 10-page essays, research, and all that. References, verifying references, homeworks, discussions constantly for years. And then they're like, well, you don't have your. And then I get my degree. And then they go, oh, but you don't have your cert. It's just ridiculous. So if I have multiple degrees in multiple positions, I don't think I need no damn cert. It's just I don't know what's going on. It's crazy. Anyways, all right, here we go. Chapter 1, today's security professional. The CompTIA Security exam objective covered in this chapter includes domain threats, attacks, and vulnerabilities. Explain the security concerns associated with each various types of vulnerabilities. Domain 2.0 architecture and design. Explain the importance of security concepts in enterprise environments. Domain 5.0 governance, risk, and compliance. Why are they starting off with a little bit higher level? This weird. Compare and contrast various types of controls. Oh, because this is security plus, not A plus. Okay, so it's not. This is going to focus on security concepts, cybersecurity concepts, not really hardware and stuff. Okay, so A plus is hardware. Security professionals play a crucial role in protecting their organizations in today's complex landscape. They're responsible for protecting confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, a lot of people don't realize that this right here. That's why the PhD guy that wrote this starts with this, because everything does start with this. That's a big part of cybersecurity. Of information and information systems used by the organization. Fulfilling this responsibility requires a strong understanding of the threat environment facing the organization and a commitment to designing and implementing a set of controls capable of rising to the occasion and answering those threats. In the first section of this chapter, we will learn about the basic objectives of cybersecurity: confidentiality, integrity, and availability for your operations. In the section that follows, you will learn about some of the controls that you can put in place to protect your most sensitive data from prying eyes. This chapter sets the stage of the remainder of the book. For the remainder of the book, where you will dive more deeply into many areas of cybersecurity. Great. Man, this is fun already. Cybersecurity objective. When most people think of cybersecurity, they imagine hacking, trying to break into an organization's system, and stealing sensitive information. Man. Ranging from social security numbers, and credit cards to top military information. Although protecting sensitive information from unauthorized disclosure is certainly one element of cybersecurity, of a cybersecurity program, it is important to understand that cybersecurity actually has 3 completely complementary objectives, as shown. And they all showed in a little triangle: confidentiality, integrity, availability. Okay, so I'm assuming we're going to go through. So this is nice. This book so far is starting off great, and when I write my lecture, I'm going to write about this too, but I don't start with confidentiality, integrity, availability. I start with the history of the internet, right? Because how are you supposed to know what you're trying to protect or what you're trying to make available or make safe, right? Because that's what CIA is. If you don't even know the history of what the hell what industry you're in, right? So you don't know what you're in the data protecting industry, are you? Or you're in the internet vulnerability industry, or you're in we don't even know what industry, and you need to know the history of it, how it was started. And also I start with the history of cybersecurity, right? like who was the first president to implement it and why, right? And that's a pretty neat topic. Okay, so I guess they start with confidentiality. So this one up here. So confidentiality ensures that the unauthorized individuals are not able to gain access to sensitive information. That's about it. Cybersecurity professionals develop and implement security controls, including firewalls, access control lists, and encryption to prevent unauthorized access to information. Attackers may seek to undermine confidentiality controls to achieve one of their goals, the unauthorized disclosure of sensitive information. So let's look at this first thing, right? What do we notice about this? Here's the key word on this: unauthorized, right? So confidentiality is what? You're trying to keep things confidential or secret between the parties that it's supposed to be confidential to, right? And any unauthorized individuals, so they're not authorized to look at some data or something, should not have access to it. That's it. That's confidentiality in a nutshell. Now, what you do to implement that, I'm sure they'll go deep into this, but that's what it is. That's the key word: unauthorized or authorized, right? Integrity. Okay, ensures that there are no unauthorized modifications to the information or system, either intentionally or unintentionally. That's about it. Integrity controls such as hashing and integrity monitor solutions seek to enforce the requirements. Integrity threats may come from attackers seeking alteration information without authorization or non-malicious sources, such as power spikes causing the corruption of the data. Now this one, the key word on this one is modifications. Okay, so integrity. Integrity. What does integrity means? That means that something that's like intact. It's integrity means what it stands for, what it is, right? So if I have data in transit or at rest, it doesn't matter. That data has to stay the same. It has to hold its integrity. So if I, even at rest or at transfer, so if I transfer that, right, to another file, over a protocol, doesn't matter, then I want to make sure it's the same when it reaches its destination. I want to make sure it's the same at all times. That's the integrity. That's what integrity means. That's it. You're trying to maintain that data to its integrity. Now, if somebody unauthorized modifies that, or if it gets changed or modified in transit, whether it's unauthorized or even, unless it's, if it's authorized, then that's different. But if it's like it happens by accident, if you're allowing somebody to change it, that's different, right? But if it happens by accident, so not unauthorized, changes to it, then you're losing the integrity of that data. That's another thing we have to protect, right? Cybersecurity. Availability ensures that information and systems are ready to meet the needs of legitimate users. That's about it. Oh, okay, hold on. At the time of the users when the users request them. Yep, that's it. Availability controls such as fault tolerance, clustering, and backup seek to ensure the legitimate users may gain access as needed. Similar to integrity threats, availability threats may come either from attackers seeking the distribution of access or non-malicious sources, such as fire destroying a data center that contains valuable information or services. Okay, so let's look at these. I always had a problem trying to remember which one is which, and that's like, I'm telling you right now, for me, I don't know about you, but I'm not your sharpest tool in the in the shed. I'm not the shiniest, sharpest tool in the shed. That's for other people. I would like to be a part of a team where there's people smarter than me. I don't like a team where I'm the smartest person. Okay, even I think I'm pretty damn smart. I like a team where either we're all really smart in our own ways, or there's a really smart person and we all can rally together behind that person. I don't know, but I'm above average, and over the years, as I'm studying, I've learned how I study and how I understand things. That's the key. So I don't know about you, but me, I've always had a problem. My problem in cybersecurity in this whole field, like through, everything I'm learning, is trying to keep track of what does what. And this is the first time I ever remember encountering this, was the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And so I remember when people would ask me, like, explain the confidentiality, integrity, availability to me, I would always have, of course, the availability down, because that's the easiest one. You want to make your stuff available, your software or anything available to the people that need it at the time they need it. If they need it, they need it. Now, now I'll give you an example. So if I'm part of an IT team or whatever, cybersecurity team, and I have teachers and they need access or some kind of admin rights or something, they need something to teach what they're teaching. You have to make that available to them, but you should not compromise security. But they see that's where the balance is. What do we do? Are we just going to follow our strict protocols? Nope, they can't. And then they can't do their job. They can't teach, which then enrollment goes down, quality goes down. They can't teach. Or do you try to figure out a way to where some kind of compromise, or not even a compromise, but some kind of win-win, where yes, it's still safe, but we're going to give you access or whatever, but we're going to still make it safe. We're going to make it available to you, but it's still safe. That's a huge part of cybersecurity. Trying to balance that is where it separates the really good cyber teams and IT teams from just people that are just following protocols, or they don't really understand the other side. They don't understand, or they're just like, look, there's nothing we could do. We just can't do it. That's it. And and it comes from above, and they said nope. And then what you're doing is you're strangleholding availability. Now your teachers are mad. They're complaining. They can't teach their students because, and this is just an example that I know of, I have experience with, right? But that's what availability is, right? That's the easy one. What about integrity and confidentiality? I used to always get these confused, and I'm like, man, how do I do this? So what I did is that I just look at the words, right? So confidentiality makes sense. Confidentiality. What does confidentiality mean? Confidentiality means that basically I look at like them old spy movies where they have those papers and it says confidential on it. Confidential means that only certain people are supposed to see that. Not everybody. So then that's when I go, oh, okay, confidentiality is, making sure the people that need to or authorized to see this. Now, and then you go to your keywords. Authorized. I love that. I love authorized, and I love authority. I love those words. I love keywords because the keywords help bring you back. So make sure that so confidentiality is only the authorized people can look at this. Nobody else needs to or should, right? And I'm not trying to remember at this point what safeguards we put in to implement this. I just want to remember the key concepts, because when you come back to something that you need to do that's real and not just theory, you're going to remember confidentiality, availability, integrity. At least I hope people do in cybersecurity, right? You're going to remember that. You're going to say, okay, I need to build on these three pillars. What are we doing here? What are we keeping safe? Does it need to be available in which way? And you might even go and ask the people that it affects, hey, is this available to you? Or what's going on? Before they complain about it. Because some people don't complain, they just live in misery. They're like, I can never do this, I can't do that, I don't have access to it. Well, why don't you go ask? So anyways. And then integrity. So how do we do that again? We look at the integrity. Okay, what does integrity mean? Integrity means that, when I look at and when I hear integrity, I think like, I don't want to lose my integrity. Okay, but what does that mean? I don't want to lose myself. I don't want to lose who I am as a person or an individual. That's how I remember integrity. Okay, so then what's that mean in the data sense? Okay, so if we have something that's security control types, CompTIA also divides security into types based on their desired effect. The types of security controls include the following. Preventative controls intend to stop a security issue before it occurs. Firewalls and encryption are examples of preventative controls. Detection controls identify security events that have already occurred. Intrusion detection systems are detective controls. Corrective controls remediate security issues that are already occurred. Restoring backup. Ransomware attacks is an example of corrective controls. After that, deterring controls seek to prevent an attacker from attempting to violate security policies. Vicious guard dogs and barbed wire fences are an example of deterring controls. Physical controls are security controls that impact the physical world. Compensating controls are controls designed to mitigate risks associated with exceptions made to a security policy. Alright, data protection. Security professionals spend significant amounts of their time focusing on the protection of sensitive data. We serve as stewards and guardians, protecting the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the sensitive data created by our organizations and entrusted to us by our customers and other stakeholders. Data at rest is stored data that resides on hard drives, tapes, or in the cloud, or any other storage media. This data is prone to pilfering by insiders or external attackers. Data in motion is the data that is in transit over the network. When data travels on an untrusted network, it is open to eavesdropping attacks. What's up, love? By anyone with access to the networks. Data in processing is data that is actively in use by a computer system. Alright, so data encryption. Encryption technology uses mathematical algorithms to protect information from prying eyes, both while it is in transit or on the network and while it resides on the system. Encrypted data is unintelligible to anyone who does not have access to the appropriate decryption key, making it safe to store and transmit encrypted data. Okay. Data loss prevention. Data loss prevention, DLP. Systems help organizations enforce information handling policies and procedures to prevent data loss and threat. They search systems for stores of sensitive information that might be insecure and monitor network traffic for potential attempts to remove sensitive information from the organization. They act quickly to block the transmission before damage is done and alert administrators to the attempted breach. DLP systems work in two different environments: host-based DLP, network-based DLP. Host-based DLP uses software agents installed on a system that search those systems for presence of sensitive information, detecting the presence of stored information. Sensitive information allows security professionals to take prompt action, either remove it or secure it with an encryption. Host-based DLPs can also monitor systems configurations and user actions, blocking undesirable actions. For example, some organizations use host-based DLPs to block users from accessing USB-based removable media devices that they might use to carry information out of their organization's secure environment. DLP systems also have two mechanisms of action. pattern matching, where they watch for the telltale signs of sensitive information. For example, if they see a number that is formatted like a credit card or social security card number, they can automatically trigger on that. Watermarking, where systems or administrators apply electronic tags to sensitive documents, and then the DLP system can monitor systems and networks for unencrypted content containing those tags. Data minimalization. Data minimalization techniques seek to reduce risk by reducing the amount of sensitive information that we maintain on a regular basis. An alternate to de-identifying data is transforming it into format where the original information can't be retrieved. This is a process called data obfuscation, and we have several tools at our disposal to assist with it. Hashing uses a hash function to transform a value in our database to a corresponding hash value. Tokenization replaces sensitive values with a unique identifier using a lookup table. Masking partially redacts sensitive information by replacing some of the sensitive fields with blank characters. Alright, summary. Cybersecurity professionals are responsible for ensuring the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of all of the information and systems maintained by their organization. Confidentiality ensures that unauthorized individuals are not able to gain access to sensitive information. Integrity ensures that there is no unauthorized modifications to the information or the system, either intentionally or unintentionally. Availability ensures the information and systems are ready to meet the needs of legitimate users at the time that they need to use them. Together with these three goals, they're called the CIA triad. Okay, let's see if we can answer some of these. I don't know where the answers are. Exam essentials. The three objectives of cybersecurity are confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Okay, let's just go through this. Okay, so it's giving us stuff to focus on. So, yep, we need to focus on the CIA triad. Security controls may be categorized based on their mechanism of action and their intent. Okay, controls are grouped into the categories of managerial, operational, technical based in the way that achieve their objectives. They're divided into the types of preventative, detective, corrective, deterrent, compensating, physical based. Okay. Data breaches have significant and diverse impacts on an organization, their reputation and all that stuff. Okay. Data must be protected in transit and at rest. Data loss prevention systems block data exploitation. DLP is a data loss prevention. Data minimization reduce risk by reducing the amount of sensitive information that we maintain. Review questions. Matt is updating the organization's threat assessment process. What category of control is Matt implementing? Operational, technical, corrective, or managerial? Okay. Threat is updating the organization's threat assessment process. Is that operational, technical, corrective? So, oh my God. Threat assessment. You would think that would be managerial, because anything that's like an assessment is in the managerial, right? It wouldn't be operational. It's not technical. It's not corrective. I'm thinking it's managerial. I don't know. Let's see. Where's the answers? Beware of the dog. Oh no. Where's the answers to this? Let's look. Answers. Today's security first. So, man, it does have the answers in the back. So, 1, D, managerial controls are procedure mechanisms. So D is the answer to that. That focus on mechanics of the risk management process. Threat assessment is an example of one of these activities. So D is the answer to that. Oh, I got that right. All right. Let's try the next one. Jade's organization recently suffered a security breach that affected stored credit card data. Jade's primary concern is the fact that the organization is subject to sanctions for violating the provisions of the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards Act. What category of risk is concerning Jade? Strategic, compliance, operational, or financial? Do 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 do. Compliance. All right, now let's go see if make sure. B. What? Is that right? Was that compliance? Yeah, compliance. B. Nice. So, I mean, this is fun. So, you can go through these and answer them. Got 1 minute left. This is actually pretty cool for a first lesson. Wouldn't be bad. Or second lesson. I would probably do that as my second lesson, right? I plan on going through this whole book. So, I mean, these are fun little chapters. This book is not hard. I say we do it, and then if you guys want to practice the questions, what I can do is I can go like this. View questions. You can pause it, answer these, then go to the next one, pause it here, answer these, go to the next one, pause it here, answer these, this one, pause it here, you can answer those, this one, and then we can go down here and just get the answers, and then you can check your answers. So here's the first set of answers, pause it, second set of answers, teaches you, see how many you get right. You know how to do the percentage where you see how many you get right. I don't know, if you get, write down the ones you get wrong, and then see, and then go back and study them. All right, so ClipChamp is bugging out. I don't know what's wrong with ClipChamp. It's bugging. So, but that was fun. I'm gonna make a little series of this, and we're gonna go through this book. Just keep reminding me. I got so many books, and I got books coming out of my brain. Okay, it's all my whole brain is just a book now. And so, if you guys want to continue to pick up on a series, let me know. I know somebody said if we can do the Security Plus, and here you go. So what I think I'm gonna do for next video, I might do these in, I don't know. For the next video, I'm going to answer the questions and then review the answers and see how well I did, right? And then go back and study and then go on to the next thing. I mean, I think that's the only way to do this, is to read the damn thing, study, and take the little test, go back, and then what I'll do is I'll create the curriculum for this for my school, and then I'll go take the damn test and see if I pass. So, all right, that was HackTheFile. It's been a minute, but I'm back, and we're gonna start off slow with some stuff like this before we start getting into all the penetration testing stuff or whatever. But yeah, hope you had fun. Enjoy it.